The New York Knicks don't have an identity. That's what Stephen A. Smith had to say on his show on ESPN First Take. And you know what? I am tired of hearing Stephen A. talk about the Knicks. One, he's not a Knicks fan. And two, he probably still thinks that Quentin Grimes is on this roster. On today's show, though, I'm going to tell you what their identity is. You may not like it, but they're one of the best in the business at it, and we just have to accept it. I think at this point we could all agree that Stephen A. is not a real New York Knicks fan. I would really like to ask him the question, how many games have you watched this year from tip-off to the final buzzer in the fourth quarter? If I had to guess, it would be less than 10, because if you don't think they have an identity, it tells me you haven't watched. This was the full quote from Stephen A. He said, "I'm really getting disgusted with this organization right now. I'm looking at the New York Knicks. Where's the identity? The story of the game is that they gave up 149 points. A Tom Thibodeau team is giving up 149 points. Where's Tom Thibodeau at? Who is this imposter on the sideline? That ain't the Tom Thibodeau I know and love. Where's the defense at?" All righty. First and foremost, Stephen A. Smith. The New York Knicks won the game, 149 to 148. So once again, you don't even have the facts right about what you're talking about. They allowed 148 points, not 149. But that doesn't matter. Saying the Knicks don't have an identity, though, tells me that, Steven, you haven't spent much time watching this team. And I get that. You are a super busy guy, maybe the most busiest sports media person in the world. You got First Take, you got your own podcast, you got your own radio show, you got your own YouTube show. I get it. It's probably not likely for you to be able to watch all 54 games they've played this year. But for you to go out and say this and act like you have is the reason that a lot of diehard Knicks fans do not respect you anymore when you speak on this basketball team. Outside of the fact that you thought Jalen Brunson was a horrible signing and all of the other things that you've said about this team. The real reason I want to do this video is because I've heard a lot of people say this, and Steven was the biggest one. Let's talk about what the Knicks' identity is. Well, the first thing I think of is they're one of the best offenses in the NBA. They're one of the hardest offenses to stop, and they put up more points than just about anybody in the league. When you talk about offensive rating, how many points do you score per 100 possessions? The Cleveland Cavaliers, the number one seed in the East, they are number one. They score 121.9 points per 100 possessions. Look who's number two, Steven. The New York Knicks, meaning they have the second best offense in the NBA. The Knicks are also 12-0. 12-0 this year when they score 127 plus points in a game. They've scored more than 127 points 12 times, and they're undefeated in those ball games. They're 18-2 when they score more than 123 points per game. So stop telling me they don't have an identity. Their identity is we're going to outscore you and we're going to beat you. And when we score more than 123 points in a game, we're 18-2. Also, when you look at other stats in the NBA when it comes to offense, they're number 3 in field goal percentage, number 5 in three-point percentage, number 3 in effective field goal percentage and true shooting percentage, and they are second in the NBA in free throw percentage. They are very highly powered on the offensive end, but they're also one of the most efficient teams in the NBA, and they are the best offense in New York Knicks history. Yeah, you heard that right. The 2024-2025 Knicks average 118.4 points per game, the single highest mark of any team in Knicks history. Second place, you got to go all the way back to 1959 and 1960 when they averaged 117.3 points per game. So you're a top team in offensive rating, and you're the best offense in New York Knicks history. But yeah, let Steven tell you, no identity. Also, you got a top starting lineup in this league. When you break it down to just who is on the floor for the New York Knicks, when they have their best 5 players out there, you could argue it is the best starting 5 in the NBA. I also think it's the most balanced starting 5 in the NBA when it comes to scoring. The Knicks are the only team in the NBA this year that has had every single starter score at least 30 points one time. You get 30, you get 30, and you get 30. They've had 5 people this year score 30 points per game, or 30 points in a game. Stop telling me they don't have an identity. Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Karl-Anthony Towns. Any single one of these players can get busy on an offensive night. Brunson averages 26. Bridges averages 18. OG's at 16.5. Hart, 15. And Karl-Anthony Towns, 25. Come on, man. What are we saying? How can you say this team doesn't have an identity when they continuously outscore teams? They're operating at an all-time high efficiency, and they have 5 guys on a roster that can get you 30, and I wouldn't be surprised if Deuce McBride joins that list here pretty soon. Precious Achiuwa just had 26 points in a game. And then you got the best closer in the NBA right now. Big Bucket Brunson. Captain Clutch. At this moment in the NBA, nobody is operating at a higher clip and a better clip in clutch time, which is when a game is within 5 points in the final 5 minutes of a game. Nobody's doing it better than JB. Shout out to Tommy Beer, one of the best follows on Twitter. Hit him up. He said this, a complete list of all players who have scored more than 100 points in the clutch this season while shooting above 50% from the floor in those situations. Number 1 on the list, Jalen Brunson. And then there's nobody else on that list. Another one here, a complete list of all the players who have scored more than 30 points in the clutch in the 2024 playoffs. Number 1, Jalen Brunson. And then nobody else on this list. If you want to just look at it when it comes to 2024 and 2025 season and clutch field goals made, Jalen Brunson is tied for first in the NBA with DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Jokic. Thing is, DeRozan shoots 42.5% from the field in the clutch. Jalen Brunson is shooting 53.1% in the clutch. The only person that has made more than 23 shots in clutch time that is shooting a better percentage is the multi-MVP Nikola Jokic. So yeah, you got a really good player in the clutch, maybe the best in the Eastern Conference, no doubt about it, and someone that can go band for band and head toe-to-toe with Nikola Jokic. Come on, guys. We got more stuff to talk about and more ways to tell you the Knicks do have an identity. First, though, I got to tell you about our proud sponsor, Factor. Use that promo code KnicksChat50 off, and you're going to get 50% off your first order. If you're ready to optimize your nutrition this year, listen up. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They are dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. So you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared. Perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Somebody like me who has a busy lifestyle covering the Knicks and the Giants here at Chat Sports, I don't always know where my next meal is coming from. But I do know when I got Factor in the fridge at home, my life is a heck of a lot easier. And you can benefit from Factor today and get 50% off by using that promo code KnicksChat50 off. So what are you waiting for? Get hooked up with our sponsor. All the information will be clickable down in the comments and description. Get started at factormeals.com/KnicksChat50 off and use code KnicksChat50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code KnicksChat50 off at factormeals.com/KnicksChat50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Alrighty, outside of the Knicks putting up just as much points as anybody else, having the second best offensive rating in the NBA, and having the best clutch player in the Eastern Conference, they are known, shout out to Walt Clyde Frazier, for dishing and swishing. They are moving and grooving with and without the basketball. When the Knicks are playing an unselfish brand of ball, they are one of the best teams in the NBA. They are 20-2 when they have 30-plus assists. They are 23-3 when they have 29-plus assists, and they are 25-3 when they have 28-plus assists. When they get to 28 assists, they rarely lose. So they have an unselfish style and nature of basketball on the offensive end, but no identity, right? What about when they light it up from 3? When they make 15-plus threes in a game, they're 17-4. When they make 14-plus threes in a game, they're 19-5. When they make 13-plus threes in a game, they are 22-5. This is my favorite stat here, though, because 12 threes made in a game isn't an unreal number. That's like just about average in the NBA. And when they make more than 12 threes in a game, they are 25-5. When you let them make 12 threes, they are almost impossible to beat. So when they pass, when they play unselfish, and they make their shots, you're not going to beat them. And you also have arguably a top 5 duo in the NBA, and that's me being unbiased. I think you could say this year, strictly on the performances that have happened in the NBA this season, you could say they have a top 3 duo in the NBA. Jalen Brunson and karl-Anthony Towns. No team has really figured out how to stop them just yet. And I also love that they have multiple styles of ways of winning. You just go back and watch the last 2 games. Jalen Brunson played 22 minutes against the Indiana Pacers, and karl-Anthony Towns went for 40. Then karl-Anthony Towns, the next game against the Hawks, had 40 points in the first 3 quarters, and then Jalen Brunson shut the door in their faces. 26 points for Brunson, 24-plus points for karl-Anthony Towns. Both shooting above 49% from the field, and both shooting above 39% from 3. The New York Knicks are one of 3 teams with 2 guys averaging 24-plus points per game. The only other teams that have that are the Phoenix Suns with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and a little bit of a cheating here, the San Antonio Spurs with De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama, who just became teammates last week. So you got one of the best offenses in the NBA. The New York Knicks had the 2nd best offensive rating in the NBA. You got a top starting lineup. All 5 of your starters this year have at least scored 30 points one time. You also have the clutchest player in the NBA this year. When it comes to making 34 field goals in the clutch, he is 2nd in percentages behind Nikola Jokic. You're also almost unbeatable when you reach 28 assists and when you make 12 threes, and you have a top 5 duo in the NBA. Also, you're on pace to have the best regular season in Knicks history. When you look at the Knicks' best records through 54 games, the 2024-2025 team is 36-18. Just as good as almost any other great team the New York Knicks have had. Do we really have to do this, Steven? Do we really have to talk about how the Knicks don't have an identity when they are 3rd in the Eastern Conference, when they have a top 5 record in the NBA? 36-18 going to the break. And Stephen A has the gall to say that he is disgusted with the organization right now? Do we forget where we came from? Do we forget we just had to watch Chris Duhon and Pablo Prigioni, who we all love, and all the other point guards the Knicks have played for? And now you have Jalen Brunson playing for the Knicks next to karl-Anthony Towns with Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and you're top 5 in the NBA in record, and you're disgusted and you think they have no identity. Stephen A., my man, I would love to talk to you about this, but please stop talking about the New York Knicks. If you want them to win the finals, if you want them to put a banner in the rafters at the world's most famous arena, hit that thumbs up icon. And if you haven't yet, give me a follow over on social media. I'm on Twitter @MarshallGreen_. I'm on Instagram @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up and let's go Knicks.